Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for clicking this video. I'm Sunday. I'm thinking on how we made this in the workshop in Makodi, Nigeria. I would like you to watch this. This was made in the studio in here by the student. They use this as a project. So how they're able to cut the pattern, get the sew, get the inner perfect, and get it ready to go on like this. That is what I will be showing you in this stream. So come with me to see how we do it step by step. Up here, what we just get to do is that the set of students coming together. The first step they were able to do is to get the pattern out. The pattern was then used to trace the leather out. This is the leather. This is the wonderful pattern leather in here. So they get to use that to get this out, which we then proceed to the sewing machine to then stitch it. The normal stitching that requires in here is just to tape all around the edges, knowing that the edges need to be well taped. So that is what we're going to do. We're able to tape the edges. After taping the edges, then need to do a top stitch on these edges. This is very well understandable for those that have a great idea about stitching, knowing that stitching is very important and shoemaking. So if you don't have an idea about stitching, I have a sewing tutorial of how to go about your stitching, peddling it and get a straight stitch. So when you're doing this, you have to be very careful and you have to travel around the edges of the layer just for it to have a tiny taping all around. So once you have that, then proceed to fold the edges round. Glue wet applied round, apply the glue round, wait for it for some time for it to dry, for the moisture or vapor to just go off, and once it goes off, then time to tape the edges. Taping it takes extra, you have to be extra careful when you comes to taping it, because the taping has to be even or round. Once you're able to achieve that, then the next thing is then go forward and then top stitch it. Top stitching is the last thing and is getting the upper set. So before you move forward in there, you make sure that your inner layer is cut. So you stitch it all around with the inner layer, get this stitch. Another one of the member of the team is stitching this on the machine, and you make sure it's stitched along the tape's edges. The edges that was taped is where it needs to be stitched. Once you stitch and the excess in there, then go to be trimmed off. Trim it off and you set with this, stitching it as I said. So it's just a two-way stitch. First tape the edge in the first time, the second time you top stitch it, and then the last face in here is then what you want to do now by cutting it out. Once you get it cut out, then the upper is set. You trim it out and the upper is set. If a point you want to add an accessories, just like where they added to this, it's being added to, you get to add to it. And if you are not adding the accessories, you just all sets, accessories well installed on it, and this upper is good to go. Done with the upper, the next thing is to then go and start getting the sole set. Generating the sole, the first step that we did was to get the shape of the sole, which was generated by the shoe via the shoe mode. The shoe mode was used to get the shape out, and the shape was then used to mark out the fiber that's going to be used as a lasting balance for the project. After the sew has been cut out, the component of getting this sew set is that you're going to be adding your fiber. You're going to have it with the mold at which that was used in it, since it's a soft PVC, puffy foam like PVC material was installed alongside with this paper like fiber was installed on it to make the insole puffy, so it was glued together, trim out, and is meant to be covered up with the inner lining. The lining, the material that was the so-called leather that was used to make the inner of the upper layer, is the same one that is going to be used to cover this all right now. So covering up will have the project have a uniform look. The inner part of it are going to have a uniform look. So you got a PVC foam like popularly referred to as Marco, and then the fiber in the cardboard like, put it together and you get your insole ready. So they were able to use that same leather that they used in making the inner to cover up the insole. Insole is that we're going to be used to form this shoe to shape and size. We're going to form it around it. So, and it's not compulsory to use that same material, but here they're making the inner so uniform. So with one material, get it set, and then they move to forming this to shape and sizing, and known as lasting. Welcome to the world of lasting. Here they are done getting the inner insole ready, and they are ready. You can see the whole material is looking uniform, and they are ready to form this to shape and size. We're going to be forming with the shoe mold, and the shoe mold having been sized, we're going to be sizing it up right now. So we're going to be forming with the insole they want to use for this project. So we start by using the glue around it to grip it down. You can get to use this, and there's other method that which you can also use to last your project, which is just crapping it all around with your nails in there. You can have series of lasting tutorial on this platform, so you can check our channel to see good video of how you can multiple ways at which you can last your project. But in here they are working on a mold. They are just using a simple lasting method to get this out perfectly. I recommend as a starter, a beginner in this, it can be very stressful when you use the other method of lasting, and especially when you're working with a flexible material that is not so thick, then I recommend you get to use this. But if you're working with a leather with a very dry moisture and a very dry leather, then you should use the other method of viewing it all round. So with that, you'll be so sure of having a very smooth tips in there. The gun, wait for it to dry for some minute for the vapor to go off. All depends on the kind of gum you're using. That's going to determine this time spacing at which you're going to leave in that. So now it's time to drop this down. Drop it carefully, and then while you drop it carefully, take your time. We now have to install a lasting plier. I recommend you have to use a lasting plier for this project. Make sure it's balanced and time to stretch the tips, the cap of this project, to stretch it for you to have a perfect round edge. I recommend a full stretch for this. So the team did a full stretch, and then they stretch it to get a perfect round tips for this. Using the lasting plier, was able to stretch in the leather and to have a well grip. At this point, if you use a nail lasting thing, then this is the point that you've enjoyed the mix. It becomes more easier at this point. So any method you decide to use, you are covered, and you're so sure you're going to have a very well last project. So they did it, cut out the excess. At the absence of crafting knife, they use a razor blade to cut out the excess. The issue with the razor blade is that you have to be careful about your hands for you not to get out cut with the blade, so be very more careful with the blade. So we move, then the game move. Another thing, I've started working on the sole. What they generate the sole was that they will need to tape the soles around, going to be wetted around, having a touch of the Goodyear thing, but this is not a Goodyear wetted sole. It's a wetted sole, but it's not a Goodyear. It is not stitched around. It was just wet around the edges. So they wet it all around, apply the way to have a balance and a more comfort seat. They get it all around, and they are gradually getting the sole ready. This project, you don't really need so sophisticated tools. You just need a normal basic hand tools, and a stitching machine could get this done for you. So moving forward, they get the, after it's been wetted, they then proceed in applying and fixing the heel. The heel has to be in it for it to brace up and get it balanced. So the fixing the heel is the next thing. They fuse the heel, embrace it up, glue it, and get it balanced. Okay, so like I like the way they've just been able to fix the heel. They fix the heel, get it trimmed off, get it balanced, and then the next thing they are doing is I guess to proceed to the bench grinder to get the edges grounded, make it grounded, and make it all neat. That is what they're going to be doing on the bench grinder next. So you can also adopt this. You can adopt this sole making method to your shoe. A full shoe can get to do this. That if you're not using a pre-molded sole, if you're using a sole that you have to create from scratch in there, this is a simple method, very simple, you can then use. But take note, while you're using this method of sole, you have to have a wonderful and a well solid gum to glue it all together, knowing that it is not stitched as the the traditional wetted sole. So you use this kind of sole arrangement, you need to have a very good cementing glue to band this all together, and I recommend you have a good sandpaper installed on your bench grinder to get these edges very smooth and even at the same time to have a good finishing. So once you're able to arrive at that, the sole is set, and the next thing is they then proceed to the work decks to bound it together. So they were able to proceed to the work decks to bound these together. Gum well applied evenly equate a good bound. So if you apply evenly, you definitely have a good bound. So bound it together and you have the project out. So mount a good pressure around it for even bound. So mount a pressure round, make sure it's really bound. If you have a pressure bar, such as the starter, you might not get a pressure bar. If you have a pressure bar, use a pressure bar to pressure it so it can clip very well. And then next phase they did was to add a good finishing on it. So they tape dye the edges, add a finishing touch to it, and it's looking the way it's looking right now. Hope you like what you've seen. As you can see, it's so easy. All was made in this workshop in here. If you like it, give us a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. While you subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell for you to be notified when we release awesome video like this again on the platform. Connect to me on my social media platform, my Facebook link. There's a link to that in the description of this video. If you'd like to take any of my courses, also a link to that in this video. Look forward to see in my subsequent upload.